All right, welcome back. So we're going to continue on where we left off. We got our item widget set up, and we've got our window set up and ready to go. So our inventory component is filling out, and eventually here we're going to need to fire that window up in this, which we can do pretty easily. So yeah, toggle inventory. So in our inventory component, we're going to need to create a new function here. This way, whatever has an inventory component will be able to toggle a window and turn it on. So we'll create a new function here. We're in our inventory component, and we're going to create a new function, and we're going to call that function toggle inventory. All right. So the first thing that we need is this inventory window right here. And it's not the right kind of thing, is it? It's just an object. Inventory window needs to be our inventory window type, and it needs to be an object reference. Be sure that's set correctly. All right, so we have an inventory window. You compile and save that. So if we get this inventory window, we can right click on it and come down here and say convert to validate get. What does that do? Well, it allows us to get that window information from this variable, and if it's a valid window we can do one thing, and if it's not a valid window we can do something else. And the two things that we're going to do, the first one is very simple, and that is if it is valid, what we want to do is go remove from parent. And what we're going to remove from the parent is this inventory window. Then we want to take this inventory window variable and set it to nothing. We just don't plug anything in there, and that nulls it out. So it doesn't exist anymore. It's now invalid. It was valid. We removed it from its parent and set it to invalid. And then we're going to do one more thing. We're going to get the player controller, get player controller, and we're going to call set input mode to game only. And I'll explain that. We're going to plug this into here. That's going to put our input mode back to the game. All right. First part is done. Now, if it's not valid, well, then we want to create it. So we want to create widget. And what we want to create is an inventory window right there. And our inventory window does not, that's not coming out quite right. We need to go back to our inventory window, back to the graph, and it's supposed to have an inventory, and I did not set the inventory. It needs to be editable and expose on spawn. Compile and save that. So in our inventory window, the inventory component variable that we have set up needs to be set to instance editable and expose on spawn. Good. Let's go back to our inventory component and let's delete this. We'll do it again. we'll call create widget and set the class to inventory window, and now our inventory shows up here. That's important because we're going to take this let me see here, inventory component. Oh yeah, we are the inventory component, so we want to set this to self. So we're telling the widget what our inventory component is. Now, we want to set the inventory. Oh, so the return value from this is hold on. All right, we need we've got it here. So the inventory window, we want to set inventory window to this return value. All right, let's back up and take a look now. Now the inventory window is not valid, so we created one and we set the inventory window to that created window. All right. Now we have to do some tricky things here. We need to get the player controller. So we'll do get player controller. From this player controller, we need to get the HUD. All right. And then we've already set up a main HUD. And that main HUD is the HUD component. I'll go back here and show you. We did this in previous ones. Under HUD here, this main HUD is that controller that controls all of our HUDs. So all of our widgets. These are widgets that actually display on the screen. This HUD is a thing that controls all of those HUDs. That's what we need to get in our inventory component. So we get the HUD, but when we get the HUD from the player controller, it's just a HUD. It's a base class of HUD. So we need to cast it to main HUD. And we'll do that right here. And that way we can get this main HUD object and get the common HUD. And let's see if it's here. Get common. Okay. So now another little adjustment to our scheme of things here is we've got to go back and open up this main HUD. We pull it over here and dock it so we can fix something. And we create the common HUD right here, and we do an add to viewport, and that common HUD is what is going to be displayed all the time. It's always there. These others, first person, third person, overlay them. So what we want to do is take this create common HUD widget, and let me double check that I'm doing this right. Right. I want to take this here and let's break it first, and then promote that to a variable. We'll set it here, and we'll pass it right on into that target. And we'll change this to common HUD. And we'll make it public. Compile, save. So now we've got the common HUD. We can go back to our inventory component. We can come off this main HUD here and say get common HUD. There it is. We've now got our common HUD. And with our with our common HUD, we now want to get the main canvas. So another little tweak I believe we have to do is go back to our common HUD, our common widget, and here's our canvas panel, and we need to make this is variable, and we're going to call this main canvas. So this is the main canvas component of our common HUD. Compile and save that. Let's go back to our inventory component, and we need to get the main canvas. So now we have the main canvas. I'm going to pull these down here just to neaten this up a little bit. We have our main canvas here, and what we want to do is call a function called add child. Doesn't like it. Add child to canvas. This is the one we want here. Add child to canvas. All right. And the target is that main canvas. We're going to call this here. And the target needs to be this created inventory window here. So again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this over here. I'm going to promote this to a not a variable. Let me delete that and delete this. I'm going to promote this to a local variable, and we're just going to call this the inv win, so it doesn't conflict with anything else. We'll plug this in here, plug this in here, and now down here the content can just be this inventory window here. It saves a lot of dragging lines all over the place. All right, now there's some tricky kind of settings that we need to do. The first thing that we need to do on this is set it to auto size. Otherwise, it'll be all scrunched up in the corner as a tiny little thing that you can't see. So we're going to pull off of here. No, we're going to pull off of here and say set auto size. All right, and click that auto size to true. Now in your widget panel there are all kinds of various alignments. There's an anchor point, there's your position relative to the anchor point, and all that on these fixed canvases. So the first thing that we're going to want to do is set up the alignment of this, and then set the anchors. So hold on. We've got this add child to canvas. That's our return value. I'm going to take this and I'm going to promote that also to a local variable. Move this out here. Plug this in here. Take this and plug it into here so we don't have any crossed over lines. Let me disconnect this. Let's hook this to here, this to here, and this to here. Okay. That looks good. Now we've got this local variable again, new one. This is going to be our we already have it. Never mind. That's just our inventory window. That's this content canvas panel slot object reference. Oh, we did want to do that. Canvas slot. We'll call that the canvas slot. That's where we're putting it in. We need this for several things here. For instance, set alignment. So what we can do is grab this local variable canvas slot, get it, and we want to call set alignment. Set alignment. We can move this in. Then we need to do the same thing and set anchors. So we can pull off of this one, call set anchors. And the way we're going to set the anchors is we're going to pull off of here and say make anchors. And we're going to set the anchors right to the middle of the screen. So it'll be 0.5, 0.5, 0.5, and 0.5. So this is the anchor point. The screen goes from 0, 0 to 1, 1. And 0.5 is dead center in the middle of the screen. And that sets the anchor point to the center of the screen. Now the next thing we want to do is set the position. And we can get this so that we don't have a lot of crossed over lines. We can get this canvas slot again. It's a local variable, so we want to pull this off and type in set position. Hook this up to here. And then we're going to take this output here and we're going to promote it to a variable in this case, not a local variable. And we're going to call this, come on, position. And we're going to turn the eye on that. So that that is publicly available. And then finally, we need to set the input mode of the window. So we need the player controller and the inventory window. So here's the inventory window. We need to call set input mode, and we want set input mode UI only. Hook that up. We need to get the player controller. Get player controller. And then we want this to be set to lock always. So that was a fun function to build. Let me see what kind of time we're looking at here. We are at 20 minutes, so I think we have just about enough time to show this, at least displaying something, hopefully without crashing. So let's go back here and let's hit save all. Save selected, make sure everything's saved. Let's go to our player character base, So we already have the action item to check inventory. When that is pressed, what we want to do is go to our inventory component, get it. We want to call toggle inventory and plug that into here. And then in our inventory component, we're going to find under default, we have this position. And so I'm going to leave it at 0, 0, which should put it right dead center in the screen. Inventory window. Display name, we're going to call this backpack, but I don't think that I've, no. I'm going to call it, yeah, we'll just call it backpack. Compile, save. Save all. And keep our thumbs crossed. And if we press our I button, we get a bunch of stuff printed out. Oh, it's barely visible. And it's not going away, and the mouse isn't hooked up correctly. The X came up. Oh, I know what the problem is. We never finished. Was it in our inventory component? Event graph. There's that. Inventory window. Ah. The event construct for the inventory window, we never finished it, and we did this. So actually what we need to do is num slots -1. That into there. So it almost displayed. It tried to display, but the event construct script wasn't completed, so it didn't do everything it needs to do. Let's take a quick look at this. I think we got enough time to finish this little bit up and see if this works. So this is in inventory window, event graph. Yeah, we should be able to put this together pretty quick. We got our for loop. It's coming off of here. Next thing we need to do is get our inventory. And from that, we need to get our get inventory, and that's our array. And we want to type in get from this inventory. We're going to get a reference at this index. Then we want to call create inventory. Create widget, and it's an inventory slot widget. And it seems that I left some things out of that too. So let's go back to our inventory slot. Inventory slot, graph, icon, item. Oh yeah. Item quantity, item thumbnail. icon, item. What did I not hook up? Let's go back to the designer. That we've got that hooked up. The thumbnail, or in this case I called it icon, is a variable. The quantity is a variable. Quantity here probably needs to be a variable. It does. Back to the graph, slot index and slot content. I think I named things slightly different. Slot count, icon. We also need a new variable, inventory, and the type is inventory component object reference. We've got our icon, we've got our quantity, and we've got our item. All right, and these all need to be public, because we've got to be able to set them. All right, so let's go back to our, where were we? Our inventory window. All right, let's do this again. Create widget inventory slot. Okay. Inventory also needs to be exposed on spawn, icon, slot count, and item needs to be set to expose on spawn. Compile, save. Back to here. There they are. Okay. Inventory window. All right. Oh, and we also need the slot index. Okay, inventory slot. Yeah, slot index, it's an integer. All right, inventory slot. Click new variable, slot index. And it's going to be an integer, and it's going to be editable and expose on spawn. Compile, save. Back to here. Inventory slot. There, slot index. Okay. Back to inventory window. All right, what do we need to do? This index right here, we need to plug into this slot index. We also need to plug it into this get. We've got that already. The slot content, or in this case the item, will be here. And our inventory is this inventory here. This inventory here goes to the inventory. Okay. And we plug this into the loop body here. All right. Now these are getting a little bit crazy. And we'll clean those up in a minute. All right. When this loop is completed, we might as well do this part, because So we get the inventory. Did I call it display name or title? We want to get the display name, and we want to set the title. Set the title to the display name for this inventory when this loop is completed. Okay, fine. And actually, I'm going to clean this up right now. I'm going to do this. I'm going to promote to a... No, I did it again. Delete that. I'm going to take that index and promote to local variable. Why can't I promote it to a local variable? Do I have to break? Yeah, let's break it. Promote to local variable. No, what'd I do? Promote to variable. Well, that's all we can do. All right. Not all of these pieces have the local variable. Boy, I better be recording. Yes, I am. And where are we at on time? We are at 32 minutes. Well, I'll probably be cutting a little bit out of this, maybe some time. Maybe this one will run just a little bit long. We're almost finished with this piece. We can test it, and hopefully it'll work. Now, we've got a 5x5 thing. So we've got our local variable here. We've got our variable here. We're just going to call it index. We want to take that index every time it's updated, get it, and we want to do two things to it. We want to get the modulo 5 and we also want to divide by 5. So we're doing a 5x5 grid. So we've created it here. We want to do an add child to grid. Context sensitive. Add child why can't I do that? Create inventory slot widget. Oh, I got to get the grid. Here's our inventory grid. And call this add child to grid. All right. We're context sensitive, so it's important to pull it off the right thing so it knows what it's doing. And where are we going to put it? Well, so modulo is the remainder of a division. So this is going to be, the modulo is going to be our column. And the division, which I'll move up to here, is going to be the row. So whatever number we're on, 10 divided by 5 is 5. 10 modulo 5 is also going to be 5. 10 divided by 5 is 2, excuse me. 10 divided by... So 10, say we're on item number 10, it'll be 10 divided by 5, which will be 2. That'll be row 2. But 10 modulo 5 has a remainder of 0. So it'll be column 0. And that sounds about right. 10 modulo 5 has a remainder of, it'll be row 2, column 5. It has a remainder of 5. I'll get it right. It's a little bit late for me. Add child to grid. Do we have everything? That looks correct. Compile, save. I probably have a little bit overly transparent This is the inventory window. Let's go back to the designer. You know, what did I miss on this? Let's go back to the designer here. Size box. Border. So we're gonna do this wrap with border. It moved a border into there, into this under the size box, and put everything else in there. And now I'm going to take this border here. I'm going to make it a little bit grayish. Border. What did I change? Content color and opacity. Okay, well, we'll leave that like it is. We want brush color, gray, and a little bit transparent. Compile, save. I'm going to go back to the beginning, save all. Good. Play. Now if I hit I, we at least get an inventory box. But the mouse is broken and I got a little bit of troubleshooting to do, so I will fix this, but we are displaying our inventory box at least. It's not saying what it's supposed to say, but I'll figure out what it is and we'll come back and troubleshoot it in the next video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.